Parliament. He came back into the chamber. I saw him in the chamber. And also, court curtails movement of former employment minister Bafo Ewua. Now, a district court B in Sunyani has imposed restrictions on the movement of Ignatius Bafo Ewua, the former Minister of Employment and Labour Relations and Member of Parliament for Sunyani West constituency. Now, as part of his bill conditions, Bafo Ewua, also the owner and financier of the Nswaterman Football Club, cannot leave or travel outside the Sunyani municipality without judicial approval. Now, the court, presided by Eric Dunning, gave the order when the former minister, 58 years, and other two suspects, Ajimandia Owusu, his bodyguard, and Joseph Cherme, appeared before it on Tuesday. Now, they were in court for their alleged involvement in the tragic murder of Francis Frimpong, an ardent supporter of the Kumasi Asante Kotoko FC, during the violent disturbance that occurred on Sunday, February 2, 2025, resulting in the death of the gentleman Francis Frimpong. Now, the incident happened on Sunday when the Nswaterman FC hosted Kumasi Asante Kotoko at the match 19 of the Ghana Premier League at their home grounds at Nswatere Professor Amwa Koromansa the second stadium. Now, that issue happened last Sunday actually, and the court has actually restricted the movements of former employment minister Bafo Ewua. Now, other stories that I have this morning, let me go to the Daily Statesman. It says that Mahama to replace teacher trainee allowance, and comes with a picture of the Honorable Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu. And that story can be found on page 2 of the newspaper. It says that the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu, has hinted that the government of President John Dramani Mahama will replace the payment of allowance to teacher trainees. This comes on the back of the NDC 2024 manifesto assurance that its government will continue to pay the allowance alongside students' loans and other funding options as part of efforts to alleviate financial burdens on students and their parents. Mr. Idrisu made the disclosure during a meeting with the leadership of the Conference of Principals of College of Education's Ghana in Accra, PRINCOF. Now, the meeting, which was initially meant to discuss challenges in teacher education and strategies for improving learning outcomes, saw the Minister of Education announce the policy shift. According to the Honorable Minister for Education, the government plans to allow the allowance system and the student loan system to run concurrently for a limited period to enable trainees to transition gradually. And he says that we are committed to ensuring a smooth shift to the student loan system, which will provide more sustainable financial support for trainees. Now, the announcement has raised concerns among trainees and education stakeholders, given the historical context of allowance cancellations under Mahama's previous administration. In 2014, his government scrapped the allowance, citing financial constraints and the need for a more sustainable funding model. Now, the decision was met with fierce resistance from teacher trainees, leading to widespread protest. And upon assuming office in 2017, the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo-led administration reinstated the allowances, arguing that they were essential in attracting and retaining students in teacher and nursing training institutions. But the Ministry of Education has dismissed reports suggesting that the government intends to scrap teacher trainee allowances, clarifying the minister's remarks. In a statement released yesterday, the ministry stated that the government remained committed to supporting students in colleges of education and is open to exploring ways to enhance financial assistance. And it also noted that if necessary, an improved student loan scheme could be considered as an additional support measure. And that is that on the teacher trainee issue. yesterday it was captured that we were going to scrap it, but unfortunately, actually, not that wasn't the case. It's going to be replaced and not scrapped completely. Now, also, there's a story on page 3 of the Daily Statesman, which is a withdrawal of charges against political affiliates sending wrong signals. And I just want to give you some parts of that story. It says that the government has withdrawn all criminal charges against former NDC chairman, former NDC chairman Samuel Fosu-Ampofo, who was previously implicated in a leaked tape case. This decision has led to his appointment as policy advisor for political affairs at the office of the vice president. Similarly, Dr. Kesio Atufo-Singh, who had been facing prosecution over financial malfeasance, has been appointed as finance minister following the withdrawal of all charges against him. And also Johnson Esiama, Dr. Johnson Esiama, a former deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, has been appointed the governor of the bank, with all criminal charges against him being withdrawn. Before the withdrawal of these cases, the Attorney General and Minister for Justice had discontinued the criminal prosecution of a former chief executive of Ghana Cocoa Board, Dr. Stephen Kwabena Opuni, and businessman Seydou Agongo. The two were accused of causing financial loss of more than 271 million Ghana cedis to the state in a series of fertilizer deals during Dr. Opuni's tenure at Cocoa Board. Now, the Attorney General has hinted at the possibility of dropping the felony treason against Oliver Barker-Vormawor, activist and convener of the Fix the Country movement. But people have raised concerns. A political and media communications expert and lecturer at the Faculty of Journalism and Media Studies at the University of Media Arts and Communication, Dr. Paul Hezwa, has called on the government to exercise caution in granting presidential pardons to individuals, particularly those known for their affiliations with the governing party. He emphasized that such actions set a dangerous precedent and embolden wrongdoing, as offenders may believe they would eventually be freed when their party returns to power. He acknowledged that the president had constitutional authority to grant pardons, but stressed that this power must be exercised judiciously. And I think that is a very good call. The moment you start giving pardons to people, it gives a wrong signal, and then the other people might think that they will be pardoned if their governments come to power when they are on trial. So I think that is a very good call for the government to pay attention to. Now, yesterday, the Presby Church eulogized Dr. J.B. Dankwa. Now, the Achim Abuakwa Presbytery of the Presbyterian Church has paid tribute to the late Joseph Boachi Dankwa for his immense contribution to the propagation of the gospel and the defense of democracy, and also the advancement of the Akan cultural heritage. At a solemn wreath-laying ceremony marking the 60th anniversary of the passing, the chairman of the Achim Ebuakwa Presbytery of the Church, Reverend Professor Seth Asari Danso, lauded J.B. Dankwa's unwavering dedication to humanity and his role in championing the cause of freedom and justice. Now, according to Reverend Professor Danso, Dr. Dankwa's contribution to the consolidation of the Chiman, the preservation of Akan cultural traditions, and the struggle of Ghana's independence remains unmatched in the nation's history. And he emphasized that J.B. Dankwa's legacy continues to inspire generations of Ghana, particularly in the fight against authoritarianism and political arbitrariness. And that is on the front page. Yesterday at Parliament, the parliamentarians actually discussed that extensively, with some of them giving some education as to the kinds of things that have happened in the past. People have raised concerns and said that J.B. Dankwa and co were against the independence of Ghana, but yesterday the majority leader, who people would think that will speak against J.B. Dankwa because of the NPP NDC conversations around Dr. Nkrumah's participation in the independence of Ghana, and also that of J.B. Dankwa. Now, the NDC supports the Kwame Nkrumah kind of they kind of support Kwame Nkrumah, and then the NPP also aligned with JB Dankwa, and so there was a back and forth in Parliament yesterday as to whether he really deserves those accolades. And the majority leader, Honorable Mama Hayariga, actually gives some clarity to the issue. As a student of history, he actually emphasized the fact that many people think that JB Dankwa was against the independence of Ghana, but he clarified that it wasn't that, but he was actually against the timing of it. He and the UGCC were against the timing of it, and he acknowledged that these are people that must be celebrated, and the fact that we need to celebrate our heroes as a nation. And he says that he knows that there's going to come a time where we are going to they're going to celebrate the likes of former President Akufo-Addo and also some other senior people, or people who have played a very key role in the nation. And also, let me move to the new crusading guide. On the front page, it says that GSE banishes worldwide securities over breaches, and that story can be found on page 3. It says that the Ghana Stock Exchange has revoked the membership of Worldwide Securities Limited due to multiple regulatory violations, barring the firm from trading on the exchange and managing client investments. In a statement, the GSE cited the Worldwide Securities Limited's failure to renew its broker deal license with the Securities and Exchange Commission as required under Rule 992E of the Exchange Dealing Membership Rules. The firm also defaulted on financial obligations to the exchange and violating Rule 92B, and lacked the required personnel to operate effectively, breaching Rules 6J and 6K. Additionally, WSL did not meet the minimum activity threshold for broker-dealer operations, contravening Rule 6L. And with its expulsion, WSL can no longer execute securities transactions, open or manage brokerage accounts, or represent itself as a GSE member. So the public, we need to take note of that. Ghana Stock Exchange has revoked the membership of Worldwide Securities Limited, WSL. So let's take note of that as well. Also, Trump sows uncertainty as Xi Jinping sees an opportunity. Now, it says that if China was angry at the United States for imposing an extra 10% tariff on all Chinese goods, it did a good job of hiding it. It urged Washington to start talks after repeated warnings that there would be no winners in a trade war. It held its fire until midnight in Washington, and then, just as the tariffs on China kicked in, Beijing announced retaliatory tariffs of 10 to 15% starting February 10 on various U.S. imports, including coal, crude oil, and large cars. Now, the Chinese government may have remained calm in the hope of doing a deal with Washington to avoid further tariffs and to keep the relation between the world's two largest economies from spiraling out of control. After all, U.S. President Donald Trump agreed to reprieves with Canada and Mexico just hours before the tariffs on them took effect. Trump and China's President Xi Jinping are expected to talk this week. Also, on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, it says that the Ghanaian Times says that tripartite committee begins 2025 salary negotiations, and government urges partners to work expeditiously. That story can be found on page 12 of the Ghanaian Times. And I want to give you I want to read a part of that story for you. It says that the National Tripartite Committee has begun negotiation to determine the minimum wage and base pay for the 2025 fiscal year. Comprising representatives from the government, employers, and organized labor. The negotiations for the minimum wage commenced on Monday. Negotiations for base pay for public sector salaries will follow that of the minimum wage. A statement signed by the acting spokesperson to the president, Felix Kwakye Ofosu, said. And according to the statement, Negotiations for both the minimum wage and base pay for the 2025 financial year are behind schedule, as they were expected to be completed by the end of April 2024 per the Public Financial Management Act. Now, in view of this, the statement called on the social partners, government, employers, organized labor to work expeditiously to complete the negotiations in time to inform the 2025 budget. The minimum wage, which was increased from 14 cedi 88 pesos in 2023 to 18 cedis 15 pesos in 2024, is expected to be reviewed upwards for 2025, considering the increased cost of living over the 2024 financial year. The new wage regime is expected to take effect from January 1st, 2025. Also, government reviews gold for oil policy to promote transparency, and that is coming from the energy minister. The energy minister. The government is reviewing the gold for oil policy to help serve the needs of players in the downstream petroleum sector and promote transparency to the implementation of the program. The Minister of Energy, John Abdullah Jinapo, has said that the NDC in its manifesto for the 2024 general election pledged to review the gold for oil policy and have started the process of reviewing it. Now, Mr. Jinapo disclosed this in Accra yesterday when he met players in the downstream petroleum sector. They are the Ghana Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, CBOD, Chamber of Oil Marketing Company Communications, and then Transport Owners Union and Tanker Drivers Union. Now, the objective of the meeting was to listen to the concerns of the players in the downstream petroleum sector for redress. Mr. Jinapo indicated that the Ministry of Finance had started the process to review the gold aspects of the gold for oil policy through the establishment of the Ghana Gold Board. You recall that President Mahama, upon appointing Sami Jimfi, actually told him to start processes to institute the Ghana Gold Board, and I think those are the conversations that are going on as said now. Now, also GNPC CEO acknowledges Springfield's role in upstream sector. Now, the acting chief executive officer of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation yesterday acknowledged Springfield Exploration and Production Limited's role as a pioneering indigenous operator and its contribution to Ghana's upstream sector. And he said indigenous participation remains essential for value retention, investment attraction, and job creation in the industry. He made these remarks when he welcomed Mr. Kevin Autry, CEO of Springfield Exploration and Production Limited, and his delegation to GNPC's headquarters in Tema. Now, the discussion focused on Springfield's ongoing operations, the broader landscape of Ghana's upstream petroleum sector, and the importance of maximizing the hydrocarbon resources, particularly in light of the country's gas supply challenges. On the critical issue of Ghana's supply deficit, Mr. Bauer reiterated the strategic role of natural gas in our energy transition and economic developments. And the GNPC boss said he looks forward to continued dialogue on opportunities that advance Ghana's energy sector and deliver long-term benefits to the nation. Mr. Bauer comes to the GNPC with institutional memory and a wealth of expertise in the energy, oil, and gas sectors. Now, he was a former minister. He's a former minister of Parliament for Bongo constituency. Also, on the front page of the Business and Financial Times, and I think that is what we're going to end with this morning. It says that motor insurance hike, insurers cite inflation, city depression, and insist on 10% tariff increase for sustainability. And that story is on page. That story is on page 3 of the Business and Financial Times. I want to read a part of that story for you. It says that the Ghana Insurers Association (GIA) has mandated its members to implements a 10% increase in motor insurance tariffs, citing the impact of inflation and currency depreciation on operational costs. Now, the decision, which took effect on February 1st or February 1, 2025, follows deliberations at the emergency meeting of insurance industry leaders on January 31. Now, this follows an earlier statement from the insurance regulator, National Insurance Commission, informing the industry of a temporary halt in implementation of the new motor tariff, as previously announced in our letter dated 23rd December 2024 to the Ghana Insurance Association and Insurance Brokers Association of Ghana due to unforeseen development. And also, Professor Jampo assumes office as CEO of Ghana Shippers Authority. Now, Professor Ransford Jampo has officially taken office as the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, vowing to drive Ghana's commercial shipping sector forward through a stakeholder-centered and collaborative approach. Now, at a brief handing over ceremony held at the Ghana Shippers Authority on Monday, 3rd February 2025, the outgoing CEO, Kwesi Bafo Sapon, extended his best wishes to Professor Jampo and pledged his full support for a smooth transition. Management and staff warmly welcomed the new CEO and affirmed their commitment to working with him to achieve the organization's vision. Professor Jampo also expressed his gratitude for the opportunity to lead the Ghana Shippers Authority. And that will be all for the news review segment here on Business Breakfast on Zed. It's exactly 7 a.m. and time for business news with Samuela Entry.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
You're tuned in to Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Hello and welcome to the business news segment on Business Breakfast on Zed. Coming up, Ghana Stock Exchange revokes membership of Worldwide Securities Limited. Also, economic contributor at Zed, Emmanuel Boatin, suggests ways to cushion against CD depreciation. Also, GRA Commissioner pledges stringent measures for border security and revenue collection. I am Samuela Entry. Let's settle in for the details. The Ghana Stock Exchange, GSE, has revoked the membership of Worldwide Securities Limited, WSL, over multiple compliance violations. This decision, which takes effect immediately, bans Worldwide Securities Limited from engaging in securities trading and managing client investment on the exchange. In an official statement from the Ghana Stock Exchange, it explained that WSL failed to renew its broker deal license with the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC), a requirement under Rule 9 subsection 2, Rule 9 Clause 2 subsection E of the exchange's dealing membership rules. This violation made the firm ineligible to continue trading. The expulsion underscores the Ghana Stock Exchange's commitment to maintaining market integrity and protecting investor confidence. Economic contributor at Zed, Mr. Emmanuel Boating, has recommended diversifying income streams and investing in stable assets as strategies to mitigate the direct impact of the cedi's depreciation. While the Ghanaian cedi has been appreciating slightly in the past days, consumers continue to feel its impact. Speaking during the Business Breakfast on Zed, Mr. Boatin emphasized that investing in assets that do not fluctuate easily, such as gold, is a key way to minimize the impact of the cedi's depreciation. Brigadier General Zibli Mbawa Ayorogo, Commissioner of the Ghana Revenue Authority Customs Division, has announced stringent measures to ensure that only approved goods enter the country while enhancing revenue collection. Speaking at the 2025 International World Customs Day celebration on the theme, Customs delivering on its commitment to efficiency, security and prosperity. He emphasized the division's commitment to upholding national safety standards, preventing substandard import and safeguarding the country's borders. Brigadier General Ayorogo said that despite challenges in revenue collection, often during first quarter largely due to decreased import after the peak period of November and December, he was optimistic that the division would meet its revenue target once they strive to meet that of the first quarter of the year. Reading the message from the World Customs Organization WCO, he highlighted that customs was focused on turning its commitment into concrete actions that would enhance trade facilitation, strengthen security, and promote sustainable economic growth. WCO members are reminded of the direction set by the organization and encouraged to showcase actions taken to build momentum and share measurable progress, he said. Explaining the theme, he said efficiency was driven by modernized custom producers, digital services, data-driven operations, and collaboration with public and private stakeholders, while security entailed customs operations such as safeguarding supply chains, preventing the movement of illicit goods, combating money laundering, and enhancing crisis preparedness. For prosperity, he underscored the importance of fair revenue collection, fostering innovation and entrepreneurship, and supporting sustainable economic growth through inclusive policies that address the diverse needs of citizens. The Commissioner called for customs to enhance visibility and communication, showcasing their efforts and results to the government and society, saying, "We are embarking on a path that challenges us to communicate more and better." Alhaji Idrisu Idisa Seidu, the chairman for the occasion, highlighted the pivotal role of customs in facilitating global trade, protecting national borders, and promoting economic growth, describing their work as often unseen but impactful to businesses and individuals worldwide. He said this year's theme was a reminder that their commitment to efficiency, security, and prosperity was unwavering, adding that efficient customs procedures were essential for trade facilitation and economic growth, adding that security remained paramount in protecting the nation's borders. A recap of the headlines. Ghana Stock Exchange revokes membership of Worldwide Securities Limited, and economic contributor at Zed, Emmanuel Boatin, suggests ways to cushion against CD depreciation. GRA Commissioner pledges stringent measures for border security and revenue collection. And that's what we have for business news on Business Breakfast on Zed this morning. Remember, you can follow us on all our social media handles, and you can also get more business news on www.zmultimedia.com. I am Samuela Aintree. Up next is Sports Flash with Lukeman Evergreen Women. Stay tuned.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio. Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Lovers to feel the love this Valentine with Love A to Z on Zed FM.
We're bringing love to life in every way, whether it's a grand gesture or a simple story.
Share your love moments with us, dedicate your favorite songs, and win amazing prizes along the way.
Tune in to Love A to Z on ZFM 101.9.
From Wednesday the 29th of January to Friday February 14th, you'll have the chance of winning amazing prizes from interactions on all our social media channels.
From BBZ to the brighter side with NYA the brand, and all the way to Highway 1019.
This Valentine, we'll make it every day a day to remember. Tune in, feel the love, and let us make your celebration unforgettable.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Jesus to the world, yeah. I was lost, low, needed a place to go. In the darkness, searching for light. You found me, Jesus, I made it right. With a melody in my heart. heart. A song of joy that will never depart. Dancing your grace right from the start. You put that melody in my heart. Making melodies in my heart. Making melodies in my heart. Making melodies in my heart to the King of Kings. La 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 to the King of Kings. Every step you guide my way. In your love, I'm here to stay. Through the storm and through the rain, you comfort me, you ease my pain. You put that melody in my heart, a song of joy that will never depart. Dancing your grace right from the start. You put that melody in my heart. Making melodies in my heart. Making melodies in my heart. Making melodies in my heart to the King of Kings. La 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 to the King of Kings. Making melodies in my heart.
Zed 101.9 FM.
Melodies in my heart to the King of Kings. La 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 to the King of Kings.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Zed 101.9 FM.
What is the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM? This is Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM, and up next is Sports Flash with Lukman Evergreen Moomin.
The stage is set for something special.
It is time to go racing.
Garnacho! Oh wow! Oh wow!
LeBron James with no regard for human life. You couldn't write a script like this.
Here's Metz, and this is positive. Williams!
Kudus! The Korean joy did not last for long.
Oh my gosh, Kudus.
Step back for Partey. Oh yes! Oh yes, oh yes! Thomas Partey.
Hello, good morning. It's time for Sports Flash on the Business Breakfast on Zed. My name is Lukman Evergreen Moment. It's been a quiet window for the title chasers Arsenal, but Man United let two go 4-1. Meanwhile, in Ghana, the question remains who killed Nana Pole. A tennis legend has laid down her racket, and the Brooklyn Nets are on a 3-game winning run in the NBA. Well, we begin in Parliament, where they have approved the appointment of Buim Member of Parliament Kofi Adams as the Minister of Sports and Recreation. The new Minister of Sports was appointed by President John Dramani Mahama to the position in January and was subsequently vetted by the Appointments Committee before his approval. And to the Ghana Premier League, Kumasi Asante Kodoko's Interim Management Committee Chairman Nana Aprinkra Akwesiewa has criticized the Ghana Police Service for failing to act swiftly in the violent incident that led to the tragic death of Francis Yao Frimpong, popularly known as Nana Pole. Now, speaking directly to the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampari, during a visit to the club's headquarters, Nana Aprinkra expressed deep disappointment with the police officers present at the scene. Meanwhile, IGP Dr. Akufu-Dampari has vowed to get to the end of the issue, promising Asante Kotoko's persons behind the heinous crime will be apprehended and justice will be served.
Because it is about Ghana, and it's not about comparing ourselves to anybody. It's about making sure that every lives matter. And that is why we decided, as soon as the incident happened, we did the investigation thing, which is the normal thing we do. But we wanted also to add humanity to the way we look. That's why quickly, when we settled in and we saw the dynamics of the issue, I quickly had to make a couple of calls and then spoke to a couple of the leadership, including my big brother, and conference calls to some of the leadership of the party, and letting you know that we are on the case and we do whatever it takes to get to the bottom of it.
Well, that was the IGP, Dr. Akufu Dampare, speaking in the presence of Nana Aprinkra. Now, owner and bankroller of Elmina Sharks, Dr. Pakwesi Indum, has called for a serious overhaul of the Ghana Football Association following the unfortunate incident at Nswatiri. Now, Executive Council member of the Ghana Football Association, Frederick Echampong, has denied reports claiming that Nswatriman FC have withdrawn from the Ghana Premier League. Now, following the violence that erupted at the Nana Chronomancer Park during the matchday 19 fixture, a game that ended 1-0 in favor of the home side, reports emerged suggesting that the club has withdrawn from the Ghanaian Top Flight League.
Communication has come to the FA. I've spoken to the president, I've spoken to the general secretary. Maybe they threw that out in the media, or maybe it's just rumor. But as I spoke to the general secretary, he said I didn't receive any communication from Instructor Man to that effect. And I've spoken to the president very few minutes ago because he's aware of my movement here and everything. And none of them is confirmed receipt of such communication from Instructor Man FC.
Have you heard?
Well, so Nswatriman FC are still a Ghana Premier League side. Now, to Ghanaian players abroad, Thomas Partey has been named in the English Premier League Team of the Week for Matchday 24. The Team of the Week put together by WhoScored.com was published on Tuesday. Now, Thomas Partey scored a beautiful goal for Arsenal in their 5-1 win over Manchester City. Now, Jeffrey Schlupp can't wait to get going after completing a loan move to Celtic in Scotland. The Ghana international joins the Scottish Giants from EPL side Crystal Palace on loan till the end of the season.
Guys, Jeffrey Schlupp here. I'm delighted to be here at such a great club. Can't wait to get going and hopefully achieve some great things together that we can enjoy together, and can't wait to get going. See you soon, guys.
Well, that is former Ghana international Jeffrey Schlupp speaking there. Now, manager Mikel Arteta says he's very disappointed by Arsenal's failure to make any signings during the winter transfer window, but praised the club's discipline. Now, Arsenal were expected to bring in an attacker after Gabriel Jesus suffered a season-ending anterior cruciate ligament injury last month, while Bukayo Saka is yet to make a return from the hamstring injury he suffered a few months ago.
We had a clear intention, which is always there is a window open to explore the opportunities to improve our squad with players that can impact it. We haven't achieved it, so yeah, we are disappointed in that sense, but as well we are very aware that that we only want to bring certain kind of players, and we have to be very disciplined with that as well, and I think that we were.
That was Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta. Now, Chelsea forward João Felix has completed a loan move to AC Milan until the end of the season. Now, the Italian side have paid £5 million loan fee for Felix with no obligation to buy the 25-year-old Portugal international in the summer transfer window. Though the deal was only announced on Tuesday, the required paperwork was submitted in advance on Monday's Serie A and Premier League transfer deadline day. Now, Manchester United manager has confirmed that defender Lisandro Martinez has suffered a serious injury after he was stretched off during their game against Crystal Palace on Sunday. Now, the Argentine could be out for months as Amorim awaits the final test from the medical team.
Leach injury is massive for us, and then the second goal killed the game, and then tough result for us. At the moment, it is not clear, but I think it's a bad situation.
So it is a bad situation for Manchester United. Now, still in the camp of United, defender Tyrell Malachi has joined PSV Eindhoven on loan until the end of the season. Malaysia returned to action for the Premier League club in November following 17 months out with injury issues. The Netherlands international signed for United from Feyenoord for £30 million on a 4-year contract in July 2022. Now, Bayern Munich left-back Alphonso Davies has signed a new contract with the club, ending speculation of a move to Real Madrid. On Tuesday, Bayern Munich confirmed that Davies has signed a new 5-year deal running until June 2030. The Canada international's previous contract was set to expire in June, and he was widely expected to join Real Madrid as a free agent. In tennis, two-time Grand Slam champion and former world number 1 Simona Halep has retired from the game. Now, the Romanian announced her decision on court at the Transylvania Open following her 6-1, 6-1 first-round loss to Lucia Bronzetti. And finally, to some NBA results, the Philadelphia 76ers defeated the Dallas Mavericks 118 to 116. The Mavericks are without a win since the departure of Luka Doncic to LA Lakers. Now, the Toronto Raptors lost to the New York Knicks 121 to 115. The Cleveland Cavaliers were beaten by Boston Celtics 112 to 105. And the Brooklyn Nets continued their mini run of wins with a 99 to 97 victory over the Houston Rockets. The Chicago Bulls also defeated the Miami Heat. The Portland Trail Blazers were also winners over the Indiana Pacers. And in the LA Derby, the LA Clippers lost to the LA Lakers 122 to 97. That will be all for sports this morning. My name is Lukman Evergreen Moment. Business Breakfast on Zed continues with Nii Trebi Hamon.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Zed 101.9 FM.
Calling all lovers to feel the love this Valentine with Love A to Z on Zed FM.
We're bringing love to life in every way, whether it's a grand gesture or a simple story.
Share your love moments with us, dedicate your favorite songs, and win amazing prizes along the way.
Tune in to Love A to Z on ZFM 101.9.
From Wednesday the 29th of January to Friday February 14th, you'll have the chance of winning amazing prizes from interactions on all our social media channels.
From BBC to the brighter side with NYA the brand, and all the way to Highway 1019.
This Valentine, we'll make it every day a day to remember. Tune in, feel the love, and let us make your celebration unforgettable.
Sugar, my honey, my sweet. Without you, life not as sweet. I go buy you donuts, pastry too, to show you say I love you true. Don't mind Valentine's Day. Make we celebrate in a sweet, sweet way. Don't mind, show your love. From above, you done make me laugh, you done make me smile. You be my partner in this love style. I go buy you chocolate, strawberries.
So don't wait until it's too late. Call Doman today and make this Val's Day one for the memories. Trust me, your loved one will thank you. Call Doman on 020-110-0533, 020-110-0533, or visit www.domanfoods.com. Doman Foods, that need a taste.
Donuts and pastries sent from above. No be only flowers, no be only rings. Doman donuts make our love sing. Sweet like honey, sweet like sugar too. Doman pastries make our love shine. Doman, Valentine's Day. So
On February 14th, Valentine's Day, we are about to experience different shades of love. The symphonies of love and high life music will fill the Palms Convention Center, La Palm Royal Beach Hotel. Aquabwa presents Shades of Love Concert. Yes, it's back and here again. Come with your loved ones, family and friends and experience Aquabwa music. It's a romantic evening on Valentine's Day from 7 p.m. prompt. Tickets are selling now for 300 Ghana cedis regular, 500 Ghana VIP, and VVIP going for 750 Ghana cedis. For special table reservations, call 0246 466 770. Yes, so grab your tickets now by dialing *714*2020#. Don't wait to be told. It's Aquaba's Shades of Love Concert, February 14th at 7 p.m. prompt. This event is powered by Big Ideas and 3 Music TV.
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio. It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
When it comes to you, to say thank you seems just not enough. But what more can I say that you haven't heard? Yahweh, why you're in Santa? What more can I do that you haven't seen? Yahweh, why you're in Santa?
Zed 101.9
I don't see what for you I am. Where do I come in? May the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Yahweh, why you're in Santa? May the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Yahweh, why you're in Santa? Why you're in Santa? May the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Why you're in Santa? May the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Why you're in Santa? May the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Hey, where do I begin? When can I stop? Hey, can I be grateful enough? Can I say thank you enough? A million words cannot define my depth of gratitude. Words fail me when it comes to you. May my heart do the talking, and though I speak no words, may my heart of gratitude be heard. Yet though I speak no words, my heart's awake to give you praise. Oh, may the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Yahweh, why you're in Santa? May the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. May my heart do the talking, and though I speak no words, may my heart of gratitude be heard. Yet though I speak no words, my heart's awake to give you praise. Oh, the meditations of my heart, meditations of my heart
Stay tuned to your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Well, you're still tuned into Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Trebi Hammond. And up next is Business Brief. Now, this morning, I'm going to talk to you about how you can master business pitch, right, as an entrepreneur. So stay tuned. We'll be right. We'll get into that shortly. Well, welcome to Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Trevi Hammond. Now, this morning on Business Brief, I'm going to share with you something very, very important, and it is on mastering business pitch skills for entrepreneurs. Now, you know, when it comes to entrepreneurship, having a great idea is not enough. Because you can have the next big thing, you can have the biggest idea, but if you can't pitch it well, it might just stay in your book. You might have it brilliantly written down, but if you can't pitch it, if you can't sell the idea to somebody else, then the idea might just stay in your book. So pitching is the bridge between your idea and the people who can help you bring it to life. Pitching is a bridge between your idea and the people who can help you bring it to life. Investors, partners, customers, you name it. So let me walk you through some real-life examples that show the power of an effective business pitch and the lessons we can pick from them. Now, the very first one I want to talk to you this morning about is Airbnb. Now, back in 2008, Airbnb's founders, Brian Chesky, Joe Gebbia, and Nathan Blechasik were struggling. Now, their idea of renting out air mattresses in people's living rooms sounded crazy to most investors. They pitched their idea to over 20 investors, and they got rejected almost every single time. So what went wrong? Now, their initial pitches focused too much on the product features. They were talking about how the platform worked, how the tech behind it, and they were just trying to talk about the product itself. Now, in business, you don't talk about the product when you are pitching. I'll come to that shortly. They know what they wanted. I mean, they wanted to know, the investors didn't care about what your product is about. They only wanted to know what problem you're solving. And every investor you meet, any investor that you meet that you want to sell an idea, any partner, any customer, doesn't care about what you use to make the product. They are focused on what problem you are solving and how big the opportunity is. So eventually, they flipped their pitch. And instead of saying that we have a platform to rent air mattresses, they said we are solving the problem of expensive, limited hotel options, especially during big events. And then boom, that clicked. Investors finally saw the potential, and today Airbnb is worth over $100 billion. Just from switching what they were selling, because the idea they were selling was a good idea, but they were only talking about how good it is and all of that. And that is not what investors are looking for. They want to see the problem that you're solving and how big the opportunity is. So when pitching, don't just talk about your business and what it does. Don't just talk about that. Focus on the problem you are solving and the impact it can have. Because people invest in solutions and not just products. They invest in solutions. Any product at all that you're bringing on the market, if you focus on selling the idea just by telling us what it is about, what went into making it and all of that, it won't sell. What will sell is what problem it is solving. So hammer more on the problem that you are solving, because people invest in solutions and not just products. Now, another brand or another business I want to talk to you about is Oros. Now, Oros was founded by Michael Mickersbury, and he was a co-founder. And Oros is an outdoor apparel brand that uses NASA-inspired insulations technology. Now, when he appeared on Shark Tank is on YouTube. It's a pitch session where people can go pitch their ideas and get some investors to come on board. When he appeared on Shark Tank, he faced some of the toughest investors in the world. But here's what made his pitch stand out: storytelling. He didn't start with technical jargon about insulation. Instead, he told a compelling story about how he and his co-founders were freezing during a hike, which inspired them to create a better solution. He went with a story. He didn't just go and say, "Oh, this is what we are doing." No, he told them a story about what actually brought about what he was doing, the business that they are trying to start, and that is actually what sold. Another thing that made their speech stand out was demonstration. He showed. He didn't just tell. He showed. He poured liquid nitrogen on his jacket while wearing it to prove how effective the insulation was. He had to pour liquid nitrogen on his jacket just to show how effective the insulation was. And that is one of the things that sold their idea. That's one of the things that got investors on board. Another thing that got investors on board, or what made their pitch stand out, was confidence. Even when they faced some tough questions, he stayed calm and confident, showing that he truly believed in his product. And those are the three key things I want to highlight on that story for you: storytelling, demonstration, and confidence. Don't just go and tell the idea. Tell a story. Don't just go and tell. Show. Don't just go and don't appear fumbling. Be confident in what you are selling. And they walked away with a $500,000 investment. So your pitch isn't just about words. It's about showing your passion, telling a story, and if you can, demonstrating your product's value. It's about showing your passion, telling a story, and if you can, demonstrating your product's value. Another brand or another business I want to talk to you about this morning is Dropbox. Now, when Drew Houston was trying to raise money for Dropbox, he faced a major challenge. It was hard to explain how Dropbox worked. It wasn't a physical product. It was a software. We all know Dropbox. It wasn't a physical product. It was a software. Investors kept saying, "Why would anyone need this?" So what did he do? Instead of a traditional pitch deck, Drew created a 3-minute explainer video. He created an explainer video, and it was simple, it was funny, and showed exactly how Dropbox could make people's life easier. And that video went viral. Not only did that attract investors, but it also helped Dropbox gain thousands of users overnight. So sometimes the best pitch isn't a speech. Let me repeat that. Sometimes the best pitch isn't a speech. It's a creative, clear demonstration of how your product solves a problem. Don't just tell, as I said, show. And that is what will help your idea sell. The fourth company or organization I want to talk to you about who did a good pitch was Spanx. And I think a few days ago I spoke about Spanx, which is by Sarah Blakely. Now, she's a founder of Spanx. And she started with just $5,000 and no experience in fashion. When she finally landed a meeting with a buyer from Neiman Marcus, she knew she had one shot. In the middle of the meeting, she noticed the buyer wasn't fully convinced. So Sarah did something bold. She took the buyer to the bathroom, put on Spanx under her white pants, and showed the difference. Instantly, the buyer was sold. So Spanx became a global sensation, and Sarah Blakely became the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. During her pitch, she had to take the buyer to the washroom to actually wear one of the products she was selling for them to see. So you have to be bold, you have to be creative, and adapt on the spot. Well, when you are pitching, you have to adapt on the spot. Sometimes your pitch needs more than words. It needs guts. It needs you to be bold, to be daring. And that is what will sell your idea. Like Sarah Blakely. Sarah took the buyer to the washroom and showed what the product was really about. Because she was selling the idea, telling the story about it. This is what it does. That is what it does. And the person wasn't getting it until she had to take the buyer to the washroom for the buyer to see what exactly she was talking about. Now, what key takeaways can we take from all of these things? And I've shared some already. But first of all, start with a story. When you are making a pitch, start with a story. If you want to make your pitch successful, start with a story. People don't just listen to what you're saying. People connect with stories, not statistics. You connect with stories. If you are able to give them a story, you are able to get them into buying your idea. So make your pitch relatable. Make it relatable. Don't just say the idea. Just make it relatable. Make sure that you find a common ground that the person can relate to and sell the idea accordingly. Now, also, solve a problem. Investors want to know what's a pain point and how are you fixing it. That is what they want to know. What is the problem you're trying to solve? That's all they want to know. If they know the problem, they know the people that face the problem, they know that they can sell to them, they will invest in your business. Another thing is that you have to keep it simple. If you can't explain an idea in 60 seconds, it is too complicated. So every idea that you have, you should be able to sell it in 60 seconds. So keep it very simple. And also, confidence is key. You always have to believe in your idea. If you don't, no one else will. You have to believe in your idea. Whatever you're selling, believe in it and be confident. Now, also, I already mentioned, but show, don't just tell. Show, don't just tell. If possible, demonstrate your product in action, and that will help it sell. And also, you have to be ready for questions. When you are pitching, you have to be ready for questions. If you're not ready for questions, you might be fumbling. So be ready for questions. Now, let me ask you this. If you had 60 seconds to pitch your idea to an investor, what would you say? And I'm asking you, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business person, if you had 60 seconds to pitch your idea to an investor, what would you say? Because sometimes all it takes is one conversation, one pitch, one bold move, and your life could change forever. So you have to always be ready to be able to pitch and tell your business idea, and that will attract people to come on board. We'll get into that into detail when we get into our roundtable discussion this morning. You want to stay and listen to that conversation. But up next is Transport Today, and Solomon Tetenate will be joining me for that. Stay tuned.
This is the pre-boarding announcement for flight 3728.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Well, now time for Transport Today, and Solomon Tetenate is in studio. We're going to tell you all the traffic, what the traffic situation is like in the capital, and also the flight schedule. Solo, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
By the grace of God, I'm doing well. What about you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well myself. Yeah, please take us to the flight schedule and then the transport.
Okay.
Sorry, the traffic situation.
Okay, so I'm starting with the flight schedule.
Sure.
And I'm taking you through Passion Air and then African World Airlines. Africa World Airlines flight schedules for today. And let me start with Passion Air. So Passion Air Accra to Kumasi, we have 6 flights available today. Passion Air Accra to Kumasi, we have only 6 flights available today. First flight takes off 6:20 a.m. and then arrives in Kumasi at 7 a.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 7:30 a.m. and then arrives in Accra at 8:10 a.m. Second flight takes off 8:50 a.m. in Accra and then gets to Kumasi at 9:30 a.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 10 a.m. and then arrives in Accra at 10:40 a.m. Third flight takes off 11:20 a.m. in Accra and then arrives in Kumasi at 12 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 12:30 p.m. and then arrives in Accra at 1:10 p.m. Fourth flight takes off 1:50 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Kumasi at 2:30 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 3 p.m. and then arrives in Accra at 3:40 p.m. Fifth flight takes off 4:20 p.m. and then arrives in Kumasi at 5 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 5:30 p.m. and then arrives in Accra at 6:10 p.m. And then the last flight for Passion Air Accra to Kumasi takes off 7:20 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Kumasi at 8:10 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 8:30 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 9:20 p.m. So that is Passion Air Accra to Kumasi. Let's look at Passion Air Accra to Takoradi. How the flight schedules are Accra to Takoradi, and we have only 2 flights available today from Accra to Takoradi. Passion Air. First flight takes off 6:20 a.m. in Accra and then arrives in Takoradi at 7:10 a.m. and then takes off in Takoradi at 7:40 a.m. and then gets to Accra at 8:30 a.m. And then second flight, and that's the last flight for Passion Air Accra to Takoradi, takes off 4:20 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Kumasi at 5:10 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 5:40 p.m. and then arrives in Accra at 6:30 p.m. Accra to Sunyani Passion Air Accra to Sunyani, we have only 1 flight available today, and it takes off at 9:10 a.m. in Accra and then arrives in Sunyani at 10:10 a.m. So looking at the flight schedules, you could see that it uses 1 hour to get to Sunyani. So you should know and then take note of that, because maybe you have a meeting and then you have maybe a specific time that you need to land. That should be the guide for you to know which one to book for. So so Passion Air Accra to Sunyani, we have only 1 flight, and as I said, it lands in Sunyani at 10:10 a.m. and then takes off in Sunyani at 10:40 a.m. and then arrives in Accra at 11:40 a.m. Passion Air Accra to Wa, we have 1 flight available today. As at yesterday, we didn't have any flight available, but today there's 1 flight available, and it takes off 9:50 a.m. in Accra and then arrives in Wa at 11:30 a.m. and then takes off in Wa at 12 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 1:40 p.m. So that is Passion Air Accra to Wa. And Passion Air Accra to Tamale, we have 3 flights available today. Accra to Tamale, first flight takes off at 6 a.m. and then arrives in Tamale at 7:20 a.m. and then takes off in Tamale at 7:50 a.m. and then gets to Accra at 9:10 a.m. So second flight takes off at 12:20 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Tamale at 1:40 p.m. and then takes off in Tamale at 2:10 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 3:30 p.m. And then the last flight for Passion Air Accra to Tamale takes off 4 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Tamale at 5:20 p.m. and then takes off in Tamale at 5:50 p.m. and then arrives in Accra at 7:10 p.m. So that is Passion Air Accra to Tamale. Let's look at Africa World Airlines. Africa World Airlines Accra to Kumasi. We have 6 flights available today from Accra to Kumasi, Africa World Airlines. First flight takes off 6:20 p.m. in Accra, and then arrives in Kumasi at 6:20 a.m. Sorry, and then arrives in Kumasi at 7 a.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 7:30 a.m. and then arrives in Accra at 8:10 a.m. and then second flight takes off 8:40 a.m. and then arrives in Kumasi at 9:20 a.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 9:50 a.m. and then gets to Accra at 10:30 a.m. Third flight takes off 12:10 p.m. 12:10 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Kumasi at 12:50 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 3:20 p.m. and then arrives in Accra at 4 p.m. and then fourth flight takes off 4:30 p.m. and then arrives in Kumasi at 5:10 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 5:40 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 6:20 p.m. and then the next flight takes off 6:50 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Kumasi at 7:30 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 8 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 8:40 p.m. and then the last flight for Africa World Airlines takes off 7 p.m. in Accra and then gets to Kumasi at 7:40 p.m. and then takes off in Kumasi at 8:10 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 8:50 p.m. So that is Africa World Airlines Accra to Kumasi. Accra to Takoradi, Africa World Airlines have 3 flights available today. First flight takes off 6:40 a.m. in Accra and then gets to Takoradi at 7:20 a.m. and then takes off in Takoradi at 7:50 a.m. and then gets to Accra at 8:30 a.m. Second flight for Africa World Airlines Accra to Takoradi takes off 2:10 p.m. in Accra and gets to Takoradi at 2:50 p.m. and then takes off in Takoradi at 3:20 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 4 p.m. and then the last flight for Africa World Airlines Accra to Takoradi takes off 4:30 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Takoradi at 5:10 p.m. and then takes off in Takoradi at 5:40 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 6:20 p.m. So that is Africa World Airlines Accra to Takoradi. Accra to Tamale, Africa World Airlines. We have 4 flights available today. Accra to Tamale, Africa World Airlines. So first flight takes off 6:30 a.m. and then arrives in Tamale at 7:30 a.m. and then takes off in Tamale at 8 a.m. and then gets back to Accra at 9 a.m. and then second flight takes off 9:30 a.m. in Accra and then arrives in Tamale at 10:30 a.m. and then takes off in Tamale at 11 a.m. and then gets to Accra at 12 p.m. and then the third flight takes off 12:30 p.m. in Accra and then arrives in Tamale at 1:30 p.m. and then takes off in Tamale at 2 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 3 p.m. and then the last flight for Africa World Airlines Accra to Tamale takes off in Accra at 3:30 p.m. and then gets to Tamale at 4:30 p.m. and then takes off in Tamale at 5 p.m. and then gets to Accra at 6 p.m. So that is all for the flight schedules. Let's look at the traffic situation in town.
Sure.
So looking at Opebia at the moment, there is traffic from Opebia getting close to Lancaster Hotel all the way to Afrikiko. So the alternative, maybe if you are going to Circle, maybe the alternative is for you to use airport residential area and then gets through Kakudi and then you get to join the main road at Ring Road there. That would be the alternative for you to skip or dodge the traffic. Okay, so and Taifa to Achimota Old Bus Station, there's also traffic at the moment when you're coming from Kumasi. So we should take note of that. and then Malam Junction to West Hills Mall. So amazingly today, when you are coming from Kaswa, there's no traffic, or the traffic is not that intense over there. But when you are going to Kaswa, that's when the traffic is intense there. So we should take note of that. So right from Malam Junction to West Hills Mall, there's traffic or rest spots over there at the moment. So we should take note of that. And then Atomic Junction to UPSA Junction, there's traffic over there. So maybe when you're coming from Medina, you can use rolling circle. When you get to Atomic, you can use rolling circle and then pass through Baoleshi, and then you join at Shashi. That would be the alternative for you, instead of being the traffic from Atomic to UPSA Junction. So that is the traffic situation in town at the moment. And Cathay Pacific launches Aria suite in London. So Cathay Pacific is an airline, and they've yesterday they launched a business class seat, which is called the Aria seat, the Aria suite. So this next generation business class product is said to be one of the most dynamic premium seats on the Europe-Asia travel market in 2025. So looking at the features of this, the business class seat that they've launched, you could see that is so fascinating. Let me take you through some of the features of the things you see if you book that new business class that they've launched. So the seat also features ample room, even for travelers who are on the taller side. And also in the airline's new area suite cabins, all overhead lights have been removed, and passengers can easily control the lighting in their suite with several different lamps. And also it allows minimal access lighting to be released into the cabin for those trying to sleep. And then the seat also offers passengers exceptional privacy with a sliding door that allows them to have a complete enclosed space. So that is all for transport today. And thank you so much for having me today.
Right. Solo, thank you very much for all of that. We're grateful that you came. So this is still Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. Just gone by as the transport today with Solomon Tetenati. And up next is Market Trends. Emmanuel Boateng will be joining me. And today we'll be talking about the inflation of Ghana's consumer inflation. Now, it has dipped slightly to 23.5% year on year in January from 23.8% in December. We'll get into that and understand what it means. Emmanuel will be joining me for that. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Sabi wọn wá sí ẹni tí a náà kúrẹ́ fún o ẹ̀jẹ̀. Dídò yìí sáyẹ́nsì ò máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ mú o ẹni. Wọ́n wá sí ẹni tí a náà kúrẹ́ fún o ẹni. Wọ́n dò yìí sáyẹ́nsì ò.
February is a season of love, or a month of love, I should say. And here we are giving you a guide to love and relationship. So from A to Z, we'll be discussing attraction, bonding, commitment, and many other things that you need to know. And it's going to be here on Business Breakfast, on Brighter Side, and on Highway 1019. So make sure you tune in every day for expert ideas, real-life stories, and fun surprises. And of course, you stand a chance of winning some amazing giveaways from our sponsors. And you can do that by getting interactive with us by sending your stories via WhatsApp on 0544 321019. 0544 321019. Or you can as well do that on Facebook, Instagram, and X at ZFMGH. Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH. Or call 030-3956-641. 030-395-6641 on Z101.9 FM. So this Valentine, we're making your everyday unforgettable. And you can get special or amazing giveaways from Doman Foods, from Liberu Restaurant, and Zelo Beauty Clinic. Now, Doman will sort you out with some good donuts. They've got some nice coconut toppings, forget. And then Liberu will give you some good seafood. Then Zelo Beauty Clinic, you go do your pedicure, your facials, your manicure, and what have you. All of this on Z101.9 FM. We want to show you love in this season. So make sure you get interactive with us on our social media platforms at ZFMGH or WhatsApp us. Well, of course, now time for market trends. And Emmanuel Boateng will be joining me over the phone lines for that. He's already on the phone lines. Ima, good morning.
Good morning, Raphael.
Ima, how are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well myself. So this morning, we will be speaking or talking about the consumer inflation, Ghana's consumer inflation. Now, we've seen a rise.
Say again? Inflation or consumer price index.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine. We can look at all of that. So Ghana's consumer inflation dipped slightly to 23.5% year on year in January from 23.8. So it was 23.8 in December, and it has dipped slightly to 23.5%. Now, government statistician has spoken about it. Samuel Kobina Enim. He told a news conference that the latest decline was driven by a slowdown in non-food inflation. And Ima, I want you to get into a bit of that. Now, the country is emerging from its worst economic crisis in a generation, with turmoil in the vital cocoa and gold industry. However, inflation still remains above Bank of Ghana's 8% target, with a margin of error of 2 percentage points either side. And so we will talk about all of that. And so, Ima, this morning I want you to first of all, let's start a conversation of what that means for the average Ghanaian. All right. And so what does the 23.5% inflation mean for the economy and the average Ghanaian?
All right. Thank you very much, Raphael. Inflation essentially would mean that prices have increased or have gone up. But in this context, compared to January 2024, so in January 2024 last year, what the prices of food was has increased by some 23.5% this year. I hope that is okay.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, if a bag of rice cost 500 cedis in January 2024, then now it should cost around 615 Ghana cedis.
Right.
That is how we make sense of it. And if your salary has not changed between January 2024 and January 2025 by the same proportional increase in the inflation rate, so to put it differently, if your salary has not also increased by some 23.5% between January 2024 and January 2025, then your ability to pay, your ability to buy, your purchasing power, is that okay?
Yeah.
Has fallen.
Right.
What that income or salary could have done in January 2024 has reduced by some 23.5%, and so it will not be able to do it any longer. I don't know if this is clear.
Yeah.
So that is really what it means. It means prices have changed upwards or have increased by 23.5%. That is compared to January 2024. That is what is happening now. And in addition to that, if your salary has not changed by the same proportionate increase, then you are losing because your purchasing power, your ability to pay, your ability to buy something has reduced by that proportion.
Right. Now, why is food inflation, why is that higher than non-food inflation?
Right. I think this is something we've been discussing over and over again. And I don't think something has changed much. I'll begin from the import dependency.
Right.
You see, for instance, yesterday I spent a couple of the evening trying to understand a few things. Some of our staples and what is happening. We import over 60% of rice. Some reports have 50, some have 54, some have 58, some have 60, some have 63. I've read different reports.
Right.
In fact, some of them are research papers. I've read multiple of them. And maybe the way for me to summarize is to tell you that we import over 60% of the rice that we consume, of the wheat we consume, and vegetable oil. These are staples, especially the rice. If we continue to depend on imports for our staples, it is going to reflect in our inflation numbers. Because the truth is that for all our inflation numbers, I think apart from 1 month, between January 2023 and January 2025, food inflation is the main driver of the inflation numbers. What do I mean? The food inflation is more than even the inflation number that we've been having. Let's do a quick test. In January 2023, food inflation was 61%. 61. Non-food was 47. And the combined inflation was 63.6. That is January 2023. Maybe and it was the same. It continued. Let me come to June 2023. Food inflation, 54.2%. 54.2%. Non-food, 33.4%. And combined inflation, 42.5%. So you would always realize that the non-food inflation is far less than the overall inflation, while the food inflation is very high from the overall inflation. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Then when you come to say December 2023, food inflation was 28.7. 28.7. Keep an eye on that. Non-food was 18.7. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. 28.7 as against 18.7. About 10, right? 10% basis point difference.
Yeah.
And then 10 percentage point difference, sorry. And then the overall was 23.5. So you can see that less to non-food alone, our inflation would have been 18.7. Is that correct? It is 23.5 because the food inflation was 28.7. And maybe let me bring you to June 2024. Food inflation, 24%. Non-food, 21.6. Overall, 22.6. So the overall is always higher than the non-food because the food inflation is high. And let's come to November 2024. Food inflation, 25.9. Non-food, 20.7. Overall, 23.0. The trend has not changed. December 2024, 27.8. Food, 20.3. Non-food, 23.8. Overall. Then January 2025, what we are talking about today, 28.3% is food inflation. Look at non-food, 19.2%. 19.2 non-food. And overall, 23.5. That gives you a certain kind of idea of how food inflation is accounting for our overall inflation. It is the main driver of our inflation. And so if we continue to depend on imports, especially of staple food products, that is driving our inflation high. And once we can manage that, we are going to be able to reduce our inflation rate. And so why is food inflation higher than non-food inflation? I think that was your question, right?
Yeah.
Food inflation is higher than non-food inflation because we've continually been importing food items. And that manifests in the prices of food. That is one. Two, our local economy is weak to produce the things we need. And well, it is affected by some factors. Climate change and weather conditions. I'm sure you've seen it in Ghana. At a point, it looked like the weather pattern and climate change we were taught in social studies in school has changed. You know, there was a standard period for rainfall, standard period for Hamatan and all these things. Do they happen any longer? No. I don't think you can teach them in the textbooks anymore. Things have changed. Things have changed. A lot has changed. And I think that is really what we are into now. It's a big trouble for us. Higher transportation costs. And that results from high fuel prices. And you know, in Ghana, I'm sure you agree with me, when fuel prices even increase by a peswa, even the one selling diapers says prices have increased. Transport costs have gone up. And so the price of the diaper should also go up. Yes, the Gobe seller is saying the same thing. The washi seller is saying the same thing. The porridge seller is saying the same thing. And all of them are tracing it to the increase in fuel prices. And that is what the tractor driver is doing. Tractor driver is blaming it on increase in fuel prices. Increase in fuel prices, oil and what have you. They are blaming it on the global market and what have you. And so transportation costs become a major issue in terms of why our food inflation goes up.
Actually, we even spoke about, I spoke about it this morning during the news review segment. So yesterday we contacted COPEC and they were calling on the transport unions to be considerate in increasing prices of transportation. And I think that's the same thing you're mentioning. So we will still continue to call on them to come down with that. Yeah,
Raphael, maybe you could lift your voice up.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I heard you, but it was down.
It was down. Okay. All right. Okay. So Yuma, let's talk about the cedi depreciation. And I think yesterday we had spoken a bit about that. But let's talk about that and inflation. All right. How does the falling of the cedi affect inflation? Maybe you can go through that for us. And I want you to be very in-depth in terms of giving us what it was from 2023 thereabouts to 2025.
All right. So if you take, for instance, December 2023, where you were doing about 11.8 cedis to a dollar, and now it's about 15 point something, right?
Yeah.
And so you can see there has been some depreciation. If it had appreciated, the numbers would not lie about it. So there has been some depreciation. Now, how does the falling cedi affect inflation? A falling cedi would mean increased cost of importation. Because you need more cedis to import now than you would have needed some time ago. Is that correct?
Right.
And so it increases the cost of imports. And Raphael, if you are an importer who deals in trade, selling to people on a retail market and what have you, once your import cost increases, what are you going to do? You tell me. What would you do?
Of course, you increase the prices.
You increase the prices, and by doing that, you pass the cost to consumers. And that goes into our inflation basket.
Right.
And record it as inflation. I don't know if you see,
I get it.
You see that.
Yeah.
So I think yesterday we tried to explain how inflation affects the depreciation of the cedi. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Today we are looking at the reverse. How the cedi depreciation, is that okay, affects inflation.
Yeah.
And we've just seen it. Once the cedi depreciates, import costs go up. Import cost is going up. That would manifest in the prices because, like you have told me, you are going to increase your prices so that you will be able to pay for your import costs. You'll be able to pay for all the things you've imported, right?
Yeah.
And by doing that, you pass on the cost to the consumer, the final consumer. And that is how it affects inflation in very simple terms. And we know the things we import: fuel, oil, right? Pharmaceuticals, machinery, so many other things. And this is going to affect how much people will buy these items on the market. Let's take an example. Fuel prices increased from 10 cedis per liter to about 13 cedis per liter. That's about 30% increase. That is going to affect transport fares. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because of the price, yeah. And that will subsequently affect the prices of goods and food. See, almost every market woman I know in this country, when you go and the prices of their food items are high, there is only one reason they say. In Yamabuayede, car walk through. They say fuel prices no cost through. That is all they tell you. Is that not so?
Yeah.
And it gives you a certain sense of how fuel prices feeds into the cost of food. And so once fuel prices are increasing, oil prices are increasing, then you know. They are increasing as a result of the depreciation of the currency because they are being imported. Then you know that is going to affect inflation figures.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So that is really about it. In simple terms, practical terms, that is how it happens.
Right. And I think the other time we talked about the regional inflation differences. Do you recall we did?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, when you spoke on there. Yeah,
in the last
exactly.
index, Eastern region was our favorite, but in this index, it is Volta region.
Yeah, and I can see that Upper West, the inflation in Upper West is about 34.3%.
Yeah, it has always been high. The Second Audio regions have always been the highest.
Why is that so? Maybe you can talk about it, because Volta region is around 17.1. Why is inflation highest in Upper West but lowest in Volta?
We want to understand it through maybe higher transportation costs. We know Accra is usually the center of trade in the region, right? And so for you to move goods from here to the north will cost more.
Okay.
Especially if a lot of the things that are being consumed in the north are things from Accra and other parts of Ghana.
Right.
It costs more for it to get there. And so the cost to be passed on to the consumer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then
so for Volta, because it's quite close.
Yes, closer proximity. And Volta also have a strong local food production. I mean, let's face the fact. I don't know if you visited the place before, but I have.
Yeah, I've been to Volta once.
20 times.
Oh, I see.
I have. I've seen the arable land. I've seen their food production. I've seen a number of things about the region. And so I know that they have a strong local market.
Right.
In fact, I went to Hohoi about a year or two ago. I don't remember. But I went to buy malt. You know malt?
Yeah.
Guinness malt.
Guinness malt.
And the price was far less than how much I buy it in Accra.
Really?
Yes. And I wanted to find out why. Maybe I may not want to say why on radio. But it looks like some of the goods are not even coming from Accra.
Okay.
They are coming from the border.
Okay.
I'm sure by this you understand the hint I'm trying to put across.
I get where you're going.
It was very cheap. Very, very cheap. More than 3 cities less. Than how much I buy it in Accra. And I was like, I even wanted to buy a pack or so. Back to Accra. It was very cheap. So I think I was at Hohoi at the time. I went to their market to purchase some stuff. And I realized the prices were very cheap.
Compared to Accra.
Compared to Accra. And so maybe in addition to what I've said, the strong local market, fact that they produce what they are eating and all of that. Because, you know, they eat what they produce. And I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yeah.
I mean, In the Volta region, we know they are staples. And we know they have a market for such. See, they have a big river. Is that correct?
Yeah.
They have access to fish and all of that. In Accra, you know how fish prices are high. And in other places. And so you may want to understand those dynamics. But in addition, maybe the new thing, as a result of what I observed when I went to, I think it was not who, yeah, was how the border also plays a role. And I'm saying it factually. But I know you understand. I know our listeners will also understand. Because we are close to the border, some things can enter.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that explains.
Okay. So let's also talk about
and the same is true for the Eastern region. I think for them, in the last one, we argued that they have a strong market.
Yeah.
Things are quite cheaper because they have a strong local market. They are producing what they want. I mean, what they feed on and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the key factors in there would be the stronger local food production because they eat what they
a local economy. And that is why we have been arguing, you and I and every person on Zed have been arguing that government must create that enabling environment for the local markets to thrive. If every region in Ghana is able to produce what it consumes in terms of their staples, the problem is half solved. Can you imagine regions far off from Accra depending on imported food? Can you imagine? Regions that have the arable land. I don't think the northern region does not have enough arable land to produce what they want to consume. I don't think that is the case. But if such regions depend on imports, especially the imports that come to Accra, then there is a big problem.
Right.
Because I'm sure you are surprised because you expect such regions to have, as it were, cheaper prices.
Yeah.
And especially if this whole thing becomes a problem if you compare it to the income levels of the region. I don't think there are high income levels in the north. There aren't. And so it becomes worry. Maybe one day we'll get into that discussion.
Right. Now let's talk some solution and probably policy recommendations. All right. Now, so basically, how we can control inflation without hurting the economy. All right. I want to know, how should individuals or businesses manage inflation?
Right. So, Raphael, you know the regional breakdown. I'm sure if you want to buy something, you target buying it from Volta region or the Eastern region.
Yeah.
Certain things. I'm not saying go there. But I'm saying that when you do, make sure you buy in bulk and prioritize buying essential stuff. Your essentials, the basic ones. Not things that I want, things that you need. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then we explore local alternatives to expensive imports. I had a lecturer visiting from the U.S. And one day we were talking over dinner. And he said, Emmanuel, I'm surprised on your Ghanaian supermarket. Almost all the fruits are imported. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That is not too good. That is not too good. Because he knows there are banana farms in Ghana, there are mango farms in Ghana, there are what have you. Maybe if it is the ones that we don't produce, maybe the apple, but certain things like banana, pineapple, mangoes, no, shouldn't be the case. And so, yes, for individuals, explore local alternatives to expensive imports, prioritize essential products, and buy in bulk. For businesses, have unnecessary operating costs. And then diversify your supply chain so that you reduce your forex dependency, your import dependence.
Okay.
Budget is important. Budgeting helps you to manage inflation and cost-saving tips. Yesterday, I think when I moved out, I think at the time you called in the morning, you realized I was in transit.
Yeah.
I got to a point I had to pick another vehicle to another place because I don't know the place. Raphael, the distance was 13 minutes. The cost of both was 62 cedis. Do you know what I did? Guess what I did? I used the Google map and walked. Yes, I did walk. And in about 21 minutes, I was there.
Right.
You know what I've done? I've made savings. Yeah, because that was too much for me.
Yeah.
In fact, some time ago, I got to campus and I wanted to pick a taxi inside campus from the station. They told me it's 30 cedis. And I walked. In about 15 minutes, I was in my home. From the main gate
to
my home, Valco Phase 2. That's a short distance. But it was 30 cedis for a drop-in. The cars parked beside the police station, the taxis there. That was what they told me. And I said, okay, 30 cedis. It can buy for lunch, right? At 30 cedis. And so you need to understand what is happening. For me, when I am buying something and I've seen a price hike, I don't buy it. I look for alternatives, and you must be able to do that. You need a strong budget to back what you purchase so that you don't just buy for buying sake. So that you buy reasonably in accordance with the prices.
Your call has been put on hold. Please wait. Your call has been put on hold. Please wait.
Raphael.
Yes.
Great.
I lost you for a minute, but I can hear you now.
All right.
Yeah, so let's move on. Let's talk about Bank of Ghana's actions, right? What should Bank of Ghana and the government do to fight inflation?
What should they do?
To fight inflation.
Yeah, they have been doing something already.
Okay.
So they maintained a monetary policy at 27%. I'm sure we discussed that sometime last week, right? Right. The monetary policy has been at 27% for a while. Is that correct? With changing dynamics of inflation. I'm sure you are aware of that.
Yeah.
So the monetary policy rate, so maybe let me take you through. It has been 30% between January 2024 and March, right? Then it went to 29% from April to May, 28% between June 2024 and September. Then since October 2024, it's been 27%.
Right.
But the inflation dynamics have been different. Some are falling, some are rising. So really, it becomes somewhat difficult to sometimes say that alone accounts for the inflation target. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so for me, I think in addition to what they do by way of monetary policy, forex reserves, and all of that, the bank, the government fiscal discipline is as much important. Efficient spending in productive sectors of the economy, sectors that can regenerate income, is key. Let's not just spend on food. Let's spend on productive capacities of the economy.
Right.
And so maintain that they have to boost their forex reserves to support the CD. Is that okay? Duration of import cover should go up. Forex reserves should go up so that we are able to push in the CD. Because we have seen how the CD depreciation feeds into inflation. Are we correct on that?
Yes.
Yeah, so that needs to be checked. In addition to that, the government, the fiscal side, should support local food production to reduce our dependency on imports. And we need to improve our energy security to reduce forex demand for fuel. Once you do that, you will not need dollars to be purchasing fuel and all of that. Are we okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So let's also talk about what the future of Ghana's economy is like or looks like, right? What has 2020?
Your voice is down. I think.
Sorry, is it better now?
Yeah, it's average.
Is it any better? Any
Yeah,
better
it's
now?
better now.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, so I'm asking that what does 2025 hold for inflation and economic growth in Ghana?
Right. We've seen we've had discussions on global growth targets. We know where we are headed. We expect inflation to drop 2025. In fact, by June, we expect it to drop around 20. Let's see what happens. It all depends on what government will do and what monetary policy will do. Is that okay? And so we can project. But if policy does not support the underlying assumptions we had, we need to revise our projections. Bank of Ghana itself made projections of about 8% to 2% margin of error on either side. But it never came to pass, right? And it's because fiscal policy did not support monetary policy enough. Now, we can project. In fact, Bank of Ghana has even extended that to about 2026. It's going to take us some time. Gold and oil exports, we need to keep a keen eye on that because that brings income for us, right? Foreign investment improvement, we need to look at that. Global interest rates increasing would affect our forex inflows because our market will not be attractive. And so there may be some capital flight, maybe some investment elsewhere at Ghana. Are we okay?
Yeah.
We have other risks, potential food shortages if agriculture does not improve. That exposes us to imports. And that would affect us.
Right.
And so, yes, I expect some growth. I expect some growth in terms of our GDP, growth in the upside or on the upside. Growth, I expect inflation to fall as well. So that is really how I expect things to go. But I've stated what we should do, and I've shown some risk factors we should pay attention.
Right, Ima, thank you. Do you have some final words?
Final thoughts, inflation has gone up, has come down, has gone up, has come down. That is the trend we've experienced in like the past 4 months or so. There's a bit of fluctuation in there. Certain things have not changed. Let's pay attention to our food production. Let's look at how we can produce what exactly we want to eat. Let's help one another. Families should budget, find alternative markets to purchase items from. Don't overburden your purse, especially if you know your salary has not increased in line with the increase in inflation rate. Pay close attention to that.
Right.
Maybe finally, let's not take heart. Let's be optimistic about the performance of our country's economy, and let's put ourselves together in anticipation of something good. And we know that the Lord will come through for all of us. Yes, thank you.
Of course, the Lord will come through for us. Ima, thank you very much for joining me this morning for the market trends. We're grateful that you shared all of these insights with us. We hope to speak to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, bye. So you're still tuned into Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. Just gone by as market trends, and Ima was helping us understand certain things in line with the consumer inflation that has dipped down a bit. Now it was 28.3%, about 28.3%, and now it's about 23.5%. And so he was making us understand certain things, and he explained that if a bag of rice that cost about 500 cedis in January 2024, because that's a January 2024, the inflation was around 28.3. As of now, it's around 615 because of the increase. Now, transport fares have also increased by at least 15 to 20% over the past year, and inflation acts as a hidden tax on savings, reducing what your money can buy. He's explained a lot of other things why food inflation 28.3 is so high, and he says that the climate conditions, higher transport costs, and all of that play a role in there. And he also mentioned that the reason why inflation is highest in Upper West compared to somewhere in Volta is also majorly because of the transportation cost, because Upper West is far from Accra than Accra to Volta. So because of that, if anybody is transporting anything from here to that side to sell, to Upper West to sell, they might want to increase the prices just so that they can cater for the transport fares. He also talked about the fact that the people in Volta region actually consume local food, and because of that, they don't depend so much on what comes from outside. And so those are a few things we've talked about this morning. Very soon we're going to have a roundtable discussion, and today is going to be a special one. Stay tuned. I'm going to share something with you. Let's take a spot of music. We'll be right back.
It's your lifestyle lure
convey genuine passion without coming across as overly emotional. And then what some of the must-have components for a winning pitch. And our guest will be joining us shortly for that. But in the interim, during business brief, I shared something with you, and I told you that in pitching, you have to always show. You don't have to tell. Do your best to show what you're doing. I shared Spank's story. Spank's is owned by Sarah Blakely, and Sarah was able to take somebody to the washroom she was able to take the buyer to the washroom and show her actually what she was selling or she was pitching, because she had said it over and over again, and the buyer wasn't getting it, and so she had to really take it there and wear the underwear she was selling so that the person can see. And that tells you how it is to pitch to other people. And we have titled it Love at First Sight. Love at first pitch, not first sight. Love at first pitch. How to win investors with passion and purpose. But our guest will be joining us over the phone lines very soon. We're trying to get over to him, and once we get him, we will get into the conversation. But enjoy the spot of music. We'll be right back. Top Oil Company Limited, and is a chartered accountant with ACCA, 15 years experience in the accounting and finance industry. And he has a lot of experience and knowledge when it comes to pitching businesses. And just by way of synopsis, securing investment isn't just about the numbers. It's about making investors believe in your vision, your story, and your purpose. Now, much like a great love story, the first pitch is one that sparks. The perfect pitch is one that sparks an emotional connection, creating a lasting impression beyond profit margin. In this conversation, we'll explore how entrepreneurs can craft compelling pitches that resonate with investors on both rational and emotional levels. And so, whether you're a business person or somebody who is looking at getting into business, this conversation will help you. Michael is over the phone lines, and he joins us for this conversation. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, how are you doing?
The Lord is my shepherd. How about you too?
I'm doing very well myself, by God's grace. I'm glad that you joined me this morning for this conversation.
I'm also glad to be on your network.
Right. Thank you very much. So let's get into it right away. Now, what do investors really look for beyond the financials?
All right. So just as you rightly said, that there is a bit about the financials, which are very important when it comes to investment. The first thing that we must all understand is that before anybody decides to let go of cash that they are holding on to, the first is that they are thinking about how they can grow this cash, how they can multiply their returns. So yes, the financial bit is very important, but that is not all, because see, what happens is that the investor needs to be convinced that yes, he can actually realize this much. So aside being able to put together a strong financial statement, which is giving strong indications of profit, revenue growth, interest, and all that, you yourself should be able to exude a lot of passion and commitment to whatever it is that you have decided to use the funds for, which you believe will translate into higher revenues and higher profit margins for the investor. So aside financials, another thing that investors are looking at is whether whoever is coming for their money shows a lot of commitment and a lot of passion and a lot of belief in what they are thinking of using the money for. So if you present to an investor and to the investor there's some sort of discrepancy in your own sort of excitement and belief in the attainment of whatever you have said on paper, the investor will not let go of his money. So aside the financials, your own passion and your commitment, dedication, and the understanding of you have concerning the thing, and your own belief that it would work is very important for the investor. And he looks out for that. Right.
It's very important. And so that means that emotional connection is very important, isn't it?
Very, very important. Very important.
Let's talk. How do you balance the emotional appeal with a solid business metrics in a pitch?
All right. So the first thing is not the emotions. The first thing is to get the financials done,
right,
and look at the numbers, because the numbers would also spark your own interest. So once, for example, you have a business idea, you are thinking of maybe going into the transport business. You cannot be so excited about it until you have realized how much you think this can fetch and how much profit or returns that you can make.
Right.
So once you have the numbers set, the numbers would also exude your own passion, and you become very excited about it. And once the excitement is there, and you also have the know that the numbers can be achieved.
Right.
You are naturally the emotions come up. Naturally, you become passionate about it because you know definitely in your spirit that you can make it. So you need the financials to elicit that passion in you. If it has to do with just passion and emotions, what's going to happen is that you will only be seen as a sweet talker. You're just talking about something, and then you are passionate about it, yet the numbers don't say so.
Right.
The numbers are not interesting. You understand? So the first thing is when you want to balance it, make sure you spend a lot of time developing the financials. It's well developed and it's looking good. That will give you yourself some excitement, and then you base on this excitement and you speak about your project passionately, because you know that in the end you'll be able to satisfy the desire of the investor as well.
Right. Now, what's the biggest? I like what you just shared right now, because of course, if there's a balance, then you are able to juxtapose both of them together, because you have what it takes financially to sell the business, and also the commitment, the passion, which you, as you mentioned earlier, the investors look out for. Now, what is the biggest misconception entrepreneurs have about pitching to investors?
One misconception that entrepreneurs usually have is that they usually feel that the investor is just interested about the numbers. And so once he's able to put together good numbers for the investor will fall for it. But you see, you must understand that the investor is a rational being. You understand? And as rational beings, all of us have things that excite us.
Right.
So that is why sometimes, even in preparing your pitch, you must do a little research into your potential investor. I mean, know what his focus is, know what his interest has been in over the years. Try and read around the investor. Then you have a fair idea as to what excites the investor naturally. So that when you are pitching, you also make sure that you are hammering on the various areas, essential areas that naturally excite the investor. So, and once you get what they are actually hooked onto, you hammer there, and then you throw in your numbers, and you'll be successful in the end.
Right. Now let's talk about storytelling. Now, people say that a lot of people forget facts, but they remember stories. Why is storytelling such a powerful tool when pitching to investors?
All right. So we must all look back and think about the times that we were young and how stories appeal to us naturally. You know, stories or storytelling, it has the ability to take abstract information, things that are in the air, and bring it down to earth and make it more practical. That is why storytelling is an important tool in pitching. Whatever information you have to convey, if you can spend time to think about one story or two around it, which will send the same signal or will communicate the same intent and purpose, you are better placed to appeal to your audience, because the storytelling makes anybody, including the investor, easily follow what you're talking about. So even if the investor is not a technical person, if the investor is not technical about the industry that you want to get into, once you put a story around it, they can relate. And once they are able to relate, they get more convinced in letting go of their money.
Right. Now, how can an entrepreneur craft a story that investors can relate to or that resonates with investors?
Okay. So there are everyday happenings around us. See, as we go about our normal activities, things happen. And sometimes if you just pause and then just be a little bit observant as to what is happening in your environment, you will realize that there are one or two things that you would pick up. And when you get such information or such stories which are from everyday happenings, they resonate more with everybody because people can relate, because it's something that's happened for real. So, but my take is that for an entrepreneur, let's even look out for real stories. So, for example, you want to enter into sanitation. Perhaps you might have heard communication of people around you concerning sanitation. You might have seen how somebody reacted to somebody putting fuel somewhere, or you might have experienced the menace that occurred when it rained and because the place was not properly kept and the place was full of dirt, flood was caused or something. So these are everyday things that happen around us. So it's just a matter of you thinking and pondering. That is why in the preparation of your pitch, you spend time and think and ponder and ask yourself that the service that you want to render or the area you are getting into, what in the outer space or what in the everyday happening can resonate with it. Look for that thing and then take it as a story that you can easily tell to your listener. and it would help a great deal to let him relate to whatever you're saying. So they should not just observe, be observant. Observe everyday happenings, the discussions of people. As you watch the television, the news that are put on telly, the news that are said on radio. These are things that you can practically lay hands on, and they become your story. And your own even personal experiences with people, as you chat with them, as you talk to them, as you navigate your way through life, would be a strong bulwark for you, and it would be a strong story for you to tell to somebody else.
Very insightful, very insightful. Now, what are some of the key elements? I mean, you've talked about being able to relate to everyday happenings. Are there other elements that are key in crafting a compelling business story?
Yes. So one other element is that whatever story it is must have a bearing on what the overall purpose that you want to communicate. So it's not every story that you can actually communicate, but stories that have a purpose.
Can you give an example?
So again, if let's say you are your business, what you are pitching to investors is about transportation business. Whatever story that you pick up should be something that concerns transportation. So perhaps you can talk about how one time you wanted to get to work and then you were late and then you had to stand in traffic for 15 minutes without any commercial vehicle coming by, and then the one that came by, the only one that showed up was charging exorbitant rates, and yourself and those who were ready to chance on it could not have access to it because of that. Once you tell this story to the listeners, then maybe you can now introduce why you are also getting into the transportation sector and what you are going to do differently from what others are doing, and that would bring markets for the investor. Understand? So something like that. So the story must one be related to what you are pitching about. It should hit right on it. If it's not related, then it's better not telling a story about it. Then two, in your story, you should exude a lot of passion. You see, you should communicate your story with passion, and sometimes you get that through even the tone with which you communicate. You know, when it comes to communication, it is not only about the words that you produce or the words that come out of your mouth. It is said that understanding communication is 80% more of the gestures, the non-verbal cues,
right?
And then only 20% verbal cues. You understand? So you must, in telling your story, you must rehearse it, practice it, and put yourself in it, so that your gestures would exhibit the kind of passion that the investor wants to see. So your facial expression, your mannerisms, your hand gesticulations, they must all show that you are confident. You know what you're talking about, and you know it will work. You understand? So you can't just tell a flat story. All these nonverbal cues must be added to the story that you are telling to give the investor the kind of communication you want him to have to convince him. Yeah.
Right. Now you talk about rehearsing, and I know a lot of people rehearse before their pitches. But how do you avoid sounding too rehearsed in a pitch? How do you do that?
All right. So, yes, I strongly believe that rehearsing is very important. Yes. So you must practice, you must rehearse it. But in your rehearsal, you must also tell yourself that you give room for natural things that may come into your mind that you may not have rehearsed. Give room for that.
Right.
So you should rehearse and practice all you can, but you should not. You see, in rehearsal, your main point is not to memorize your words word for word. Yours is to be able to, in rehearsal, you are trying to gain control and mastery over the various points that you want to communicate. So as you do it over and over again, the points get stuck in your mind. But the exact words you would use to communicate those points, you must allow your feeling spirit to do so. Other than that, yes, you would appear very rehearsed, fake, and not very motivating enough. So rehearse and practice the points so that they'll be at your fingertips. All the stories you want to tell, have an idea the kind of stories you want to tell and all that. But the actual words you put into the story and how you construct your tenses, you must allow yourself free speech for that.
Right. Very important. I'm glad that you shared that one. How you must allow some room, because sometimes you can prepare to go share something and then you get there and then other things are coming to mind, and many times people struggle and it makes you sound inauthentic, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to sound authentic, then you have to make room for all of those things that come to mind.
And you know that, you see, if you have spent a lot of time on your piece, on your material, and you have brooded over it for a long time, the concepts are already there. And one thing that helps is that once you step into the arena, when you get into the room, sometimes the everyday happenings, even in the room, you can easily find something that connects with a point you want to share.
Right.
And then quickly you pick on it and then add it to it, and it enriches your delivery. It enriches your story.
Right. Now, let's talk a bit about passion and purpose, right? The emotional connection bit of the whole thing. Now, of course, passion can be very infectious, but too much of that can overwhelm.
Yeah.
So how do you convey your genuine passion without coming across as overly emotional? How do you do that?
Yes. That is why you need the numbers to keep you in check. You need the facts to keep you in check. So don't forget that, yes, you are pitching to an investor. You need to tell your style, your emotions. You want to communicate to the investor that you are passionate about it. But you should understand that the investor, as a person, as a rational being, is also thinking about his money. And for him, the bottom line is whether or not his money would grow in your hands, whether his money is safe in your hands. And for that one, he needs the numbers to tell him that. Then after the numbers, he looks at how passionate you are to drive whatever you want to drive to achieve the numbers. So the numbers should keep you in check. So you should always have a balance. There's always be a balance. Even as you want to portray your emotions and your passion, your commitment, there should be constant reminder for yourself that it's about the numbers to the investor. It's about also letting the investor know that this is what you stand to get at the end of every day, at the end of everything. Understand? So there must, in your mind, it's all about mind. In your mind, you should know that there are two things. You want to tell the investor, I can give you this return. These are the numbers that support it. Look at it yourself and make a decision. But I'm also telling you that, look at me. I am passionate about driving this thing. So there should be that combination. The facts and the emotions must combine it very well. That is why you cannot also go patient and forget about your business model. You've not done a business model. You've not even done a market survey. You've not done financials. All that you have is your passion for this thing that you want to do. You are excited about it and you believe it will work. Yet there are no empirically verifiable evidence in front of the investor that speaks to your passion, or that adds another voice to your own voice and passion that you are exuding. You understand? So the way to keep yourself in check, to ensure that's why I started by saying that the first thing is put yourself away. The first is not the emotions. The first thing is get the facts, the numbers. So get the hardcore stuff done.
Right.
So the market segmentation, the market survey, whether there is actually need for the service that you're having, whether the market would actually require that service and they are ready to pay money for that service, and look at competition. These are the hardcore stuff. You must first do them. After you have done them and they look exciting, that itself should even elicit some sort of excitement in you, because you know that you've done them and they're exciting. And then now you can add your passion to it. So when you are delivering both passion and hardcore facts. And once you balance it well, you'll be able to get to your investor.
Very salient. Very salient. Now, another thing that is an issue is inexperience. Now, inexperience can sometimes be overshadowed by pure drive and determination. I believe you agree. Now, in your experience, does passion sometimes compensate for a lack of experience?
You see, passion is important, but I don't think it will be a compensation for lack of experience. You would need to prove that say that one reason why you are excited or passionate is because you've done it before, or somebody has done it before, or you have been in it before. So actually, experience must augment your passion, and you must find ways to communicate experience to your investor. You see, sometimes one thing that when it comes to looking at experience, we throw away a lot of things because for us we are looking at some kind of experience, and we think that is what will sell. But sometimes it would marvel you that the little achievements you have made in life in certain areas that you may not even consider to be a big deal could be a great experience for the investor to know that you have done or you've achieved this thing here before, and therefore they can trust what you are saying that you'll be able to deliver this to. You understand? So I don't think that passion can compensate for experience, or passion can replace experience. But the two must work hand in hand. Experience must augment passion. And truth be told, if you sit down quietly, as long as you are a living being and you have spent like some number of years on earth, you have experiences in other areas. Sometimes you've not just sat down to actually put your whole life into perspective. So you may not even think you have an experience. Let me give you a practical example. This is not really about patient, but it's about somebody who was actually looking for a job. And the person was straight after SHS. And the person felt that he didn't have any experience, any work experience. And the person had an offer. Yes, he had an offer. He had an offer. And then the offer was for her to be a data entry clerk in a very big company in Ghana. The person herself saw herself incapacitated because she felt he did not have that experience because he's not worked after, he's not going to start to do something after SHS. But then I just reminded the person, now, let me understand what you have done over the period and some of the things that you have used your time for. And I realized that in a narrative, she told me that, she was the financial secretary of a local community church. And I asked her, so what do you do as a financial secretary? She says, okay, so she's responsible for keeping the financial records of the company in a simple Excel format. And I said, yes, that is right there. This is an experience because you are keeping financial records, and I'm sure you are using the same computer to do entry into maybe a simple thing like Excel, and you're keeping transactions. Yes. Yeah, so that is some kind of experience. So don't say you don't have an experience. You have an experience. It may not be in that kind of business that you are thinking about, or you may not be in a corporate, a company, but it is also experience, and you can leverage it to sell your idea. You understand? So you must look deep into it. There is something that you have done before that could serve as a leverage point,
right,
to communicate with your investor.
Right. Now, I have been on a program that was training us for job interviews and all of that, and they make the same points you're making. And I think it's related to business pitching, because even in an interview, you're pitching yourself, you're selling yourself. Exactly. Yes, and many times we overlook all the experiences we have. Exactly. You've done something somewhere in your church, in your home, even taking care of your little siblings or younger siblings. That is also an experience that you can use to. Yeah, many people don't pay attention to.
You help your mother. You take care of your mother's shop when your mother was away, or you help your auntie's cosmetic shop. They are all experiences. So instead of saying I don't have an experience, think about these things and see how you can connect to them to what you are now pitching for.
Right, very, very salient points. I like your thoughts. Now let's talk a bit about crafting the perfect pitch. Really, now every winning pitch seems to have like a secret source. There's something that drives it. What are the must-have components of a winning pitch?
Okay, so for a winning pitch, I would say let it be concise. The first thing is your pitch should be very concise. You must understand that whoever you're pitching to may not have all the time for you to listen to you. So there should be conciseness in your pitch. And you should have a very strong introduction. And that is where the storytelling comes in. I believe that even in introducing that 30 seconds introduction, if you can find a story to tell in your introduction, it would resonate with them very well, and you catch their attention once you're able to do that. So a good introduction, and then you must in your pitch, in your pitching, that you must also clearly state what problem you're solving. What are you solving by going into this particular service? What are you solving by wanting to invest in this product? What problem are you solving? And then what market opportunity is there for that problem, for that solution that you are providing? Is it a problem you are solving that people actually need it? Because people only pass money for things that they actually need. So is there a market opportunity for what you're solving? Then you must also be able to give an overview, the key features and benefits, key highlights as to the benefits your service or whatever it is that you are pitching to investor about would give to your clientele, your customer base, and the entire community that you're operating from. Then you also look at the market and competition. You must also let the investor know that you have actually scanned the market, and you know what the competition is like. You also talk about your target market, your customer segments, which customers you're going to deliver your products to, and which other people are already in the business. How are they doing their business, and what different thing are you bringing on board, which will differentiate you from them? So something about your market and competition is very important. Then the business model. You also talk about the business model, how you would operate. So in your business model, you state, yes, the product or service. You state which stakeholders you would be using, like your clientele base, and how you deliver the product or service to your clients. So you explain the model that you're going to operate. Are you going to do an online store? You're going to do delivery to homes or whatever. What are you going to do? There should be a business model. There should be clearly communicated. Then you end with your financial projections. The financial projections. Okay, now, so after solving the problem, and after you have scanned the market, and after you've used this particular business model, what is the financial projection looking like? So you show your financial projections, being your revenues, your expenses, your cash flow, and all that, and make sure it's interesting in the first place for the investor to look at. Then you discuss the key metrics in that financial presentation. So the revenue growth, the profit margin on the business, the return on equity, return on investment, whatever. Just discuss the metrics with the investor. And then finally, after discussing the metrics, finally you talk about the team and operations. Which team are you bringing on board? Because sometimes your team, it's not only sometimes, your team is also very important to the investor. He wants to find out if the money will be in safe hands, if there is a qualified team to actually make this thing happen. So they introduce your team, their years of experience, what they have done before, and you make yourself ready for any other questions that they may ask, and then you answer. So these are the key highlights. Let me go over them again.
Yes, I wish you can. Yeah.
Your powerful introduction, and to be appropriate if you can make it more of a story. 2, you state what the problem is and what market opportunity is there for the solution that you are providing for that problem. 3, you look at the market. So you segment your customer. Which kind of customers are you looking at? Are you selling to everybody or particular groups of people? And then discuss what competition tool is there. Are some people already doing? Is there somebody doing that business or thing already? And how are they doing it? What competitive advantage that you are going to have over them? And again, the business model that you're going to use. Well, how are you going to do your business? How are you going to run your business differently from the rest? And then what will the business produce in terms of the finances, the financial projections, the revenue expense and cash flow? And then which teams are going to manage this business to ensure that the desired results are obtained? Yeah.
Right. I like how you break everything down into that. Now, when you were speaking, the very first thing you mentioned was that it should be concise.
Yeah.
I want to know, how long should the perfect pitch be? How long? If you say concise, what do you mean? Yeah.
Per experience, I have come to believe that whatever you have to communicate should be within 10 to 15 minutes. Between 10 to 15 minutes to be done. Salient points, go straight to the point. And then once you are done, you can now take questions if they have.
Right, so 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a very important part of pitching is first impression. We know that they can either make or break you. How do you grab? I want us to get into some of the practical things. Now, how do you grab an investor's attention in the first 30 seconds?
So, the first thing, your appearance. You see, you must look it. You must look the talk. You understand? Before the investor gets to hear from you, they get their eyes get fixated on you and they scan you. So you make sure that you are you're looking presentable. I mean, you are well represented in terms of your outlook, the kind of clothing, the apparel, your smell that you exude, the fragrance that comes out of you, and how you look. So that is very, very important. That's the first. And then the second thing is your composure. You must look confident. It's not only about learning how to talk confident. You must look it. You must look confident.
Right.
So once you marry your appearance in terms of your clothing with your confident look, you would wow them. Then it sets the tone for them to listen to you and know more about it. It's just appropriate. Yeah.
Right. So your dressing even counts in your pitching. It's not just about what you go and say.
No, it's also about your dress and how you look, and how confident you look before how confident you sound.
I know you have very limited time and you'll be leaving us very soon. So
yes,
let's try and wrap up the conversation this morning. I would have wanted us to talk a bit about some of the common mistakes entrepreneurs make during a pitch. I don't know if that's something you may want to comment on. Some of the mistakes they make.
So all right. So quickly, one or two things that I've realized. One is that some entrepreneurs actually they forget about the numbers and then they concentrate a lot on their passion. Others also concentrate on the numbers and forget about their passion. So the ability to blend the two or have an understanding that the two are very important and they have to be balanced very well. Sometimes lacks in entrepreneurs. So you see, you find somebody going strongly on passion, would not have even done his homework, look at the numbers and see the numbers are even interested in themselves before they add their voice to it. Others also focus on the numbers, and then you realize that the things that you have talked about, even appearance, going before what's it called, the investors, they are not properly dressed. They have not even rehearsed their what's it called, their narrative.
Yeah.
So you realize that they keep forgetting even the points, and they are feeling that just because they have put together a business plan and they have the business plan well documented, a 10-page, 15-page business plan, and they submitted it, and the investors looking at it, they think that is all. So one common mistake that they do is that they don't marry the two,
right.
and that's something that they need to really do in order to be successful.
Of course, even Bible says that a false balance is an abomination. Exactly. So you need to be able to balance both of them. Now, while we are wrapping up, what should entrepreneurs, maybe we should just move away from that. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone preparing for the biggest pitch of their life?
One biggest advice I'll give is to prepare. Prepare. No matter how often you've done it, no matter how experienced you are at pitching, and the many times you have succeeded, always prepare enough. Go over your work over and over again. Meditate on it, brood over it, so it sinks within you. Once the whole concept is sunk deeply in you, even when you are waking up from sleep, you can just recite everything and bring out the salient points and everything in your concept and in your project. So preparation, very key. Preparation. It is said that poor preparation brings about poor performance. You understand? So and failing to prepare is actually planning to fail. You understand? Failing to plan is actually planning to fail, or failing to prepare is planning to fail. So once you don't want to fail, prepare. I cannot gainsay the importance of preparation in pitching. Whether it's an interview you are going for, whether you are pitching for an investor to give you funds for investments, whether you are pitching to a bank to finance your company, prepare.
Wow, prepare. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Sego. We are so grateful that you joined us.
Michael Sego is the name, please.
Sorry, Michael Sego. Sorry. Yeah, Michael Sego. Thank you very much for joining us this morning to break down this particular conversation. We are so grateful that you came. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Right. Well, this is still Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. It's been a very brief and interesting conversation this morning here on our roundtable discussion. We've been talking to Michael Sego, who is the Chief Financial Officer at Top Oil Company Limited. And he shared with us a lot of things on pitching. I'm going to run you through some of the things he's speaking about. But let's go on a quick break. When we return, I'll give you all the things that he talked about. Just in case you missed something, you can catch up on that. Stay tuned.
All lovers to feel the love this Valentine with Love A to Z on Zed FM.
We're bringing love to life in every way, whether it's a grand gesture or a simple story.
Share your love moments with us, dedicate your favorite songs, and win amazing prizes along the way.
Tune in to Love A to Z on ZFM 101.9.
From Wednesday the 29th of January to Friday, February 14, you'll have the chance of winning amazing prizes from interactions on all our social media channels.
From BBZ to the brighter side with NYA the brand, and all the way to Highway 1019.
This Valentine, we'll make it every day a day to remember. Tune in, feel the love, and let us make your celebration unforgettable.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
I see you in my dreams every night and day, everywhere I go. You be the tattoo for my skin, for my body and soul, you be you control. Tell me the reason for leaving. If you know be you, hey girl, I go follow. Yeah, if you know be you, girl. If you treat me like your brother, I gotta treat you like my sister. Respect me like your father, and I gotta love you like my mother. Treat me like your brother, and I gotta treat you like my
Well, you're still tuned into Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me. And I hope you enjoy that one by Akwabwa. He calls that one number one. You may want to check it out and enjoy it some more. Well, we just finished our conversation with Michael Sego, and he spoke to us about love at first pitch. That's how we decided to call it, because we are in a month of love. Love at first pitch. How you can win investors with passion and purpose. And he shared a lot of things. I'm going to run you through a few of them before we end the show this morning. Now, I asked him what investors really look for beyond financials. And he said they look out for commitment. They look out for the passion, the desire, the drive that you have to carry out that particular business idea that you have. And so they're not just looking at the numbers, but they're also looking at that. And he also said that there needs to be a balance between the two. Don't have too much financials, or don't focus so much on financials that you forget about the emotional bit, the drive, what is driving you, selling that one as well. So make sure that you balance both of them when you want to pitch an idea to anybody at all. If you are selling yourself, maybe in an interview, you're trying to send some message across, you're trying to win some people, maybe investors, to come and invest in your business. Don't just focus on the financials. Don't just talk about how the money, how you're going to be able to make a lot of money and the kind of money you've made already. Don't focus on too much on that. Make sure that there's a balance. Bring that emotional part. Let them see that you have a drive. You have a drive, that you're emotionally attached to what you want to do. And it is very, very important. I also asked him some of the biggest misconceptions. And he highlighted the same thing, that people think that it's just about finances. And that is something that they must check. And so if you want to really go into it, then also consider that part of selling the idea with your emotions attached to what you're doing. And that also is able to win the investors. Yeah, and also he spoke about the power of storytelling. He said that storytelling is the go-to thing. If you really want to be able to sell your idea, sell your business idea, then focus on telling a story with it. And that is how you be able to pitch very well to the investors. And he mentioned that if you want to craft a story that resonates with your investors, look at what the investors themselves are connected to. So do your research. Get to know the kind of things that they are passionate about. And then when you are pitching, you hit on those, maybe because we're talking about love, maybe those soft spots. Yeah, hit on that. And then that is how you be able to get them to come on board and support you. Now, he also highlighted the fact that you need to rehearse what you're going to say. Rehearse it. But then also make some room for thoughts that may come as you're just speaking, because sometimes you can prepare very well. Whilst you're standing in front of the people, other ideas will drop into your mind, or maybe into your spirit, if you're a spiritual person, into your spirit, and you may want to run away from that. He says that don't do that. As you are pitching your business, rehearse very well. When you stand in front of them, as different thoughts begin to come, entertain them, make room for that, and that will help you to be able to sound authentic and not overly rehearsed. So if you're listening to us, you want to go pitch, make sure you think about these things that we are saying. Rehearse very well, but also make room for things that may come up as and when you're having the conversation. And then we talked a bit about how you can convey genuine passion without coming across as overly emotional, because sometimes you are tempted, as you're telling your story, you become too emotional about it, and then you seem to miss the main points in themselves. So he says that don't just do that. Don't just go ahead and sound overly emotional, but think about how you can use the facts, how you can use the metrics, how you can use your financials to buttress what you're saying, and that will help you to avoid coming across as overly emotional. And I asked him whether passion can sometimes compensate for lack of experience, and he says that no, it doesn't. Experience is very important when you're pitching your business to people, but don't think that your passion and don't think your passion will override that. So all of them go hand in hand. So make sure that you have some experience. And he says, don't just think about your corporate experience or maybe your business experience. That if you're if what I'm sharing with you this morning, you're thinking about it in terms of interviews and all of that, he says, go beyond the structured experiences, because sometimes you might have some experiences that you don't pay attention to and you feel you don't have some experience. So think about it very well. Go through it, ponder about some of the things you've done in the past. All of these things will come together to form that experience that you need to sell yourself. And he said in an interview, sometimes something as little as being in front of your mother's shop, selling at an auntie shop, or sitting in front of taking care of your younger siblings. All of these things come together as experiences, and it's a leadership experience. It's financial management experience. What you are doing at work, make sure that you include all of that when you are selling yourself. And in line with business, sometimes you've done some small business somewhere. All of those things come into play if you want to sell yourself or your business idea to someone, right? And we also talked about crafting the perfect pitch, how you can craft a perfect pitch. And I asked him, what are some of the things, the must-haves that you, some of the things that you must have in your pitch to be able to grab their attention and also win the investor over. And he says that you must have a good intro. Your intro must be powerful. Make sure that right from the beginning you grab their attention. And then you must also have a problem statement. Let them know what problem you're trying to solve, because as I said in the business brief, the investors don't just focus on the financials. They are concerned about the problem you want to solve. So that is something to, so that it doesn't appear that everybody is your target market. So because in business, your target market is very important. If you don't know who you are selling to, you tend to say that, oh, I'm selling to everybody. But there's always a primary target. There's always the major target that you are supposed to focus on. And there are other secondary targets and all of that. For instance, if you're going to sell maybe ice cream, you might want to target older people, but your primary target can be children. All right, they could be and the secondary target could be parents, and so the parents can purchase for their children. So your adverts or your pitching is in line with all of that. So you need to have a good target market, and also you need to state the benefits. So make sure that your pitch has the benefits of the idea you are trying to sell, and then also do your market research and also research your competition. He says that don't just limit yourself to what you are going to do. Focus on the market and the competition. Once you come in front of an investor and you're able to say that I'm going into this particular business, but A, B, and C businesses are already there, and these are their shortfalls, and this is what I am doing differently, you can win the investor over. And that is something you must pay attention to. He says that you should also have a business model in place. If you don't have a business model in place, you struggle. Tell the people how you're going to do the business. Say that in your pitch, and it can win your investors over. And then he says financial projection. That is also very important. How you hope to raise some revenue, get some money coming in, your profit margins and all of that. He says that focus on that as well. And then he spoke about revenue growth. And okay, exactly what I just said, profit margin. And he says the team, that's the last one he gave us. The team is very important, the team you are working with. So because investors need to have confidence in the team and the people that you're going to work with. So you need to make sure that you are assembling the best team, the high performance team, to be able to work on that project. So some of these are the things that he shared. And he says that your pitch should be concise. 10 to 15 minutes, you'll be able to sell yourself and to sell your business idea to an investor. So these are some of the tips he shared with us this morning. And that's how we wrap up this morning on the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. We are back again in your homes, in your offices, and in your cars